inside the National Security Command Center. Redacted transcripts reveal that Obama, under the pretense of national security, um, convened an off-the-books task force of senior intelligence officials and military advisors at Camp David. In late December, one document marked Eyes Only 44 reads, "The threat Trump poses to institutional stability and instability cannot be overstated. Removal, if necessary, is justified." While Obama has not commented publicly, legal teams are reportedly mobilizing behind the scenes as the files prepare to go public. The country teeters on the edge of political reckoning, and the question now isn't whether there was a plot, but how far it went, and who else was involved. Folks, this is getting real. You gotta think about this. As this transpires, as this progresses, which I told you Obama will be arrested. They're all going to be arrested. Gavin, all of them are going to be arrested. You got to think who's going to be activated. The illegal immigrants are going to be activated. Also, BLM, and the whole thing is going to get wild when this picks up. So, I'm going on EagleSweater.tv right now to talk with Juan Hussein about this. It's half off right now on EagleSweater.tv. Half off monthlies, half off yearlies. Get over there, won't be doing this for a limited time. Lieutenant Douglas Dean is up right now talking about the Sharia law takeover, the Muslim communities in America, how he specifically talking about Plano, Texas, and how it's just taking over all of America now. They're all linked. Great University podcast. Bingo or Sneezo, go fuck yourself. Other than that, all take care. I'll see you all later at EagleSweater.tv. Sneezo. Bye later, folks.
Oh, that's so serious. Investigation. Always have the trouble now. I'm completely honest. I'm sitting back and I'm the parties I brought this in before. People just be safe here, so let's be good. Things like this are allegations and stuff. But he is not the non-part. Year after year, he tries to pop in series, but as we're dealing with power on the book, the meetings, the accountability, insane work, and how they use the ways that the public never really do. Even this specific thing never see the this never see the exposure. The system sees the threat and moves on closed doors, not in front of the cameras. And that leads to directly this woman's actually in positions did in this way. So they ain't nice. So she got it. Now we're in this
Now, Director, you said there was irrefutable evidence that Obama was the mastermind of this intelligence manipulation and the perpetuation of the Russia hoax. What is that irrefutable evidence for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, Lord, you're playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true. I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odnnominee.gov, GOV. It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia. That the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order, and very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment, where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated, that they knew was false. And this was how they came up with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire 4 years of his first administration.
And they further say that there's like this idea of saying that Obama.
And her president's direction, you know it's in official records. It's not speculation. It's documented chain of command. Like the instructions pointing to the paper trail that ties it's the early days of record. Like the top. And ask yourself, if everything was above board, why use discredited sources like this still document to push the case? It's not intelligence gathering, it's liquid opinion. Now here's the story is flowing from non-politics. It's a brawl. Okay. How is it doing smart attention? Is it in speed action? And people are trying to listen. Stop being trash.
So we have this architecture that when you buy a house, generally it goes in escrow. You have a title company that manages the escrow and documents that go into it. So just a broad scale. Let's imagine we buy a house, for instance, we buy the house for $200,000 and it's funded by one of the North American banks, we'll just say Wells Fargo. Please don't sue me. All the records, including mortgage, deed of trust, all the insurance policy, all of those records are reported in the county record. And just minutes later, your $200,000 house, something has a $200 million managing mortgage that comes through. It's nothing but a wire that goes through the title company. There's no lender involved. Because it's a money loan. They call it cash or money loan. They just go through title company. There's no notation of who the lender is. And it was security assistant down. But it's interesting because this is what our notation is. Offices. Other offices. Once we found one, it led to another, and another, and another. We don't call it donation. And this is just one small fragment of the human man. Leave this digital dust. This is one very small fragment. You have all these gigantic financial transactions. Now the question becomes, how do they funnel that back into the campaigns? Is that the small dollar donation that we see and show up at some lady's house and she donated to Act Blue 52 times and she knows nothing about it? Well, this is just one small aspect of it. So James will keep back in that with whole surfing piece that he's done. And we can be careful about what we're calling this. This is a research project because we're not licensed investigators. We want to make sure that people understand that this money is going into organizations that were set up by Barack Obama to spread cash around the country. And to put money into political action committees, into nonprofit organizations and fund campaigns, to set up the whole architecture for a public relations machine. Basically, propaganda machine. To promote the whole concept that we're a team, we've got great funding, it's behind us. So, here in Arizona, for example, they hosted our meeting not more than about 5 weeks ago. It replaced their chairman because their fundraising was 25% of what it was last year. Well, where all the numbers were. So what we're talking about here, Grant, is wholesale fraud, where the money is distributed by new officers. Now, because we're not federal law enforcement, we don't know exactly what we're in, but that's why we turned it over to U.S. attorneys. And that brings me to the real news, I guess, is that you have handed this over to the Department of Justice. What has been their response of taking the evidence? We call it evidence because nothing's been proven yet. It might be Act Blue's response on all of this, but we turn over this evidence to DOJ. What do they say to you? We are now engaged in conversations with a number of U.S. attorneys, former U.S. attorneys. The lawyers are not yet confirmed U.S. attorneys. So there is great interest. I got to believe that Attorney General Pam Bondi has forwarded this out to the folks that are the financial crimes folks. By the way, it wasn't just the AG. We also sent it to the IRS Criminal Division and to the FBI. So Director Patel also asked us.
Excuse me, if even half of what some bad shareholders are, you're looking at a system that could quietly funnel billions without a single average voter knowing. And think about the time if sudden fundraising drops in key states, donations, nobody remembers making. Y'all know he covered a lot of those videos on the channel. All while the same organizations keep the lights on in campaigns. It's not grassroots. There's none of y'all. That's what we call manufactured influence. That's all they're doing right now. That's all if you care about election integrity, you have to care about this. Same thing. The pot in this clip. acid reflex, y'all. They're going crazy. But the pattern of recycled narratives and unaccountable behavior. Intelligence, turned into some sort of political tool. But this isn't about party loyalty, man. It's about a machine that believes in its own game. They actually do. They count on you, forgetting, not forgetting, rather. They count on you to believe that you're not seeing what you're seeing, basically.
Because you ain't supposed to believe shit at all. You supposed to know better.
We have Rumble, we have X.
Supposed to know better. Ain't supposed to be believing no shit.
Hey guys, welcome to the Hive. I'm Chelsea, focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so the full-blown Democrat meltdown continues. Hero for Texas GOP redistricting. The Democrats are like petulant little children who've never been taught to share. They've never been taught that everybody gets held to the same standard. And now they're realizing that they're not getting special treatment anymore, and so it's all out pandemonium. So yeah, basically for once, Republicans are actually playing the game and playing it well, basically engaging in the same practices that Democrats have for decades, but since they're Republicans, of course, you know exactly what that means, right? It's no longer democracy in action. No, it's a new threat to democracy. When Republicans redraw maps, it's Mussolini Hitlerism. Democrats do it. Yeah, nobody freaking bats an eye. But now, of course, we've been making that argument for at least 2 weeks at this point. We already have a pretty decent understanding of what's going on here. But I gotta tell you, it seems to me these Democrats have absolutely no freaking idea, haven't a single clue as to the dynamic here. It's obvious that they're completely ignorant of their position because they're now making these grand claims and threats that clearly will not work, that will clearly backfire spectacularly. The Democrats, once again, playing themselves. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on as Democrats try to fight back. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright, folks, of course, we've been clowning on these Democrats for all the exaggerated claims. Well, speaking of exaggerated claims, I guess kicking this whole fake outrage plan to a whole other level, we've now got Democrats threatening to fight back. Here we have Democrats in the state of Massachusetts threatening retaliatory redistricting. Ooh, shiver me timbers, about as scary as retaliatory terrorists from Canada.
How the government can talk about redistricting and retaliation? Is that something you consider that has to do?
Isn't it a sad state of affairs that that's where we're at, okay? And, Donald Trump, Greg Abbott, and Paxton have left us no choice. That's the reality. Nobody came looking for this, right? We've had a system of free and fair elections. We have maps that are regularly drawn, voted on by legislatures, approved and signed off on by governors. This is the way the system works. Until this comes in. And so, they've left us no choice. It's not where anyone wants to be. I can tell you that governors I know, maybe with the exception of this person in Texas, evidently, we want our constituents represented. We want the voices heard. Whether you vote for me or not, I want your votes to count. I want your vote to count. Unlike Greg Abbott, who doesn't want your voice to count and doesn't want your vote to count, nor does Donald Trump, nor does Ken Paxton, because they're proposing to completely rewrite the map out of nowhere to take away the votes and the voices of Texans. And the message is, not only does it have an impact on Congress, which impacts all of America, it also is something that we don't want to see spread. We don't want to see spread. But Abbott, Paxton, Trump, they leave states with no choice. I want to make sure that people have access to health care. I don't want to see further cuts to Medicaid, or to housing, or to veterans, or to poor little kids.
Bitch, you wasn't worrying about none of that there before.
It becomes an issue for a governor in New York, and a governor in Illinois, and a governor in Massachusetts, governors all around the country. planning to perhaps move forward on these plans? We just did that. We're gonna follow the rules. I don't know if the Secretary of State wishes to comment, but we just went through a customary and orderly process a few years ago.
Ooh, what are we ever going to do? Democrats are now promising to redistrict their states to fight back against Texas. Except obviously, as we've been covering, this doesn't work. Absolute freaking geniuses. You've already gerrymandered your states to the max. I mean, what are you going to do? Redistrict the same states to get the same results? I mean, we've got big Democrat cities and states that sure are blue strongholds. The Democrats win anywhere from 60 to 80%. But despite the fact that they might have, let's call it 15 to 40% Republicans in the state, they have, ding ding ding, 0 Republican representatives in the House. In other words, they're already gerrymandered to guarantee that only Democrats can get elected. I mean, how much worse can it get? What are you going to do? Gerrymandered at 0 Republican seats? Most of the big Democrat states are already there. And that's really the punchline here. This is not a path that Democrats want to walk down. The only states that actually can do a mid-decade redistricting that would net them more seats are Republican states. Meaning the only states that aren't gerrymandered to the absolute partisan max are a few red states. That's Texas, where Republicans can gain +5, Florida, where they can gain 3 to 5 seats, Ohio +2, Indiana +2, Missouri +1, and the only place where Democrats could possibly gain some seats, where they would be totally throwing the balanced representation, by the way, is California. Even though Governor Gavin Newsom is promising he's going to do it, there's only one problem. In order for him to be able to do it would require a state constitutional amendment. Not exactly happening. Yeah, the reality is the math is absolutely brutal. Red states have all kinds of room to maneuver, and really Democrats are out of options. And now here they are, frustrated by this phenomenon, acting like they're victims here. But the reality is the Republicans are just catching up to their games. But you know what? Honestly, enough engaging in debate on the ideas and the facts here. At this point, I don't even care anymore. No more debate, no more discussion. No, I think it's time to just double down. Yes, redraw the maps for explicit partisan purposes, expand the majority, and wipe these freaking losers off the board. Write them out of power as much as you possibly can and never apologize. I mean, we're supposed to apologize to the worst cheaters in the game? The same people who have been attempting to rig the system for decades? The same people who harbor a bunch of illegal immigrants, then skew the census data and inflate representation? The same people who went all over the country and changed all kinds of election laws and allowed ballot harvesting before the 2020 election? So
They cheated!
They're mail-in ballots for all. This is the party that games the rules every chance that they can get. This is the party that got an illegal FISA warrant. This is the party that lied to the American people and put you through a decade of Russia, Russia, Russia. This is the same party that tried to indict the President of the United States in the midst of an election cycle, and now we're supposed to care. No, the only appropriate response is the Elon Musk response. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
That's the only appropriate response. Straight up double down. Republicans are finally striking back, and good. Texas +5, Florida +3 to 5, Indiana +2, Ohio +2, Missouri +1, 15 extra seats on the table. Take every damn one of them. We do not care. This is not illegal. It's not cheating. It's playing to win. And really, that's what they can't stand. You know, they can't stand.
They started it. They started that shit.
Those are simply the consequences of losing the demographic scheme. Those are the consequences of losing the election, losing the culture, losing the migration. Don't cry all you want. Do not care. Will not change anything. Have a nice frickin' day. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Independents could be crashing the party for those runaway Democrats. 6 officials say the FBI is on the case trying to track down the crew that bailed on the Lone Star State and denied the Republicans 5 more red seats. They've been pulled up in even more gerrymandered turf like Illinois. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the dragnet's already working.
I believe that there are at least 12 Democrats in the state of Texas. We have a dragnet taking place as we speak right now across the entire state to locate and to bring to the Capitol at least a dozen Democrats here in the state of Texas, as well as efforts they're undertaking in other states to bring these runaway Democrats back to our state.
That's not all. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has launched an investigation into Beto O'Rourke's political group for reportedly funding the travel of the runaway Democrats, including those Ritzy-type planes they took to get out of Dodge. O'Rourke brushed off the probe while warning that a new mask would pave the way for a Trump third term.
It means no retribution, persecution, and violence for Trump's political opponents. It also means a Republican majority Congress releases 5 stolen seats to allow them to secede or rolled out the Royal Department for a Trump third term. So this is moving for all Democrats, and it comes down to what's happening in Texas right now.
And the Texas gerrymander gambit has got other Democrats thinking about bending the rules. Dave Cargill is calling on his party to take radical measures if they ever come back to the House.
If the Democrats win the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2028, which is not impossible, they're just going to have to unilaterally add further industry from the states. They're going to have to, Congress does give, the Constitution gives Congress power over federal elections without thinking into the district, but they're going to have to do it. They're just going to have to do it, and they may have to expand the court to 13 members. If you want to say democracy, how do you have to do all those things?
I think that's what they call activated.
Yeah, that's well, he's good of a power. Yeah, what happened? I mean, did he come to power? Is his podcast doing amazing? Who was listening to him? Like, this is the reason why you guys lost, because you tried to do things that were very anti-democratic. Like dossier, just the list goes on and on, all the stunts they pulled. All they're doing now is no one's paying attention to gerrymandering. Not even Jerry, gerrymandering is paying attention to it. Now the whole country's like, wait a minute, there's no Republican congressman in Massachusetts? Wait a minute. And now they're seeing what they've been doing this whole time. Again, this is laughable. This is why we're doing this. It's such a beautiful time to be an American. You have time not to show up for work and cry about it. Only an American get away with this type of thing.
Question for you, Jesse. One, notice higher bracket. Number 2, what about the fact that in August, it's not the opposition side, it's not power. August is a great time to try to get the news, break in, and the Democrats instead have created this story of August.
Yeah, it's not a good story. And it's not inspired. And if everybody's noticed, the better he dresses, the more sense he makes. So he's been doing amazing with his wardrobe. So in our conflict there's something called the escalation ladder. You remember during the Cold War, you had 2 nuclear powers, and you had guys war gaming situations. If the Soviets put missiles in Cuba, and then invade Cuba, and then they attack Miami, and then we bomb Moscow, we're all dead. So you have to just be very careful. That's why Biden was very careful with Ukraine. He didn't want to have U.S. jets shooting down Russian jets, because the next thing you know, we're taking out Moscow and they're hitting New York. The Democrats have been able to take political warfare unrelenting for about 3 decades, and the Republican Party has not retaliated. They have fined us, they've shot at us, they've censored us, they've gerrymandered, they've done pretty much everything. Spied, sheep, lie, and you name it, they've done it. And for the first time, a Republican president is going to say, no, we're going to punch back. It's in the bully, man. What are you doing with the bully? You got to punch the bully in the nose. Because if you don't, you're going to keep getting bullied. Cyrus, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, the Pistons, their body toward them. And anytime you went into the league, there were 2 guys converging hard fouls, went right to the free throw line, beat them up. And finally, what did they do? They went to the gym, and they got stronger, they trained all year, and they kicked and got some good guys, some stronger guys in the team, and they won. And then they won 3 championships in a row. Trump's not even holding. Trump's not going to let this slide anymore. If he needs to gerrymander, he's going to gerrymander. If they want to add stars to the flag, okay. We'll just take Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. And it doesn't have to be impressive if you take it peacefully. It will be a mostly peaceful nation. And those are 3 states. That means 6 Republican senators. See what they've done?
In Greenland.
That's the Greenland.
I'm on it right now. I am so important. Because they understand that these different are like their own bed. They keep it their own bed because our beds are going to be very, very expensive if they're getting fined $500 a day by going on. I hate to diverge here, but I understand the drama. Like, I know we've been mainlining political drama in this country, and it's got to be a tit for tat, part of my language. But at some point, it gets to be too much. And, you know, yeah, Democrats will run out of states to be very they talk like, well, hold the free go. And then, you know, Jesse's going to be president. He's like, it's still the election, we're coming for you. But it gets to be too much at some point, and the Supreme Court has been asked to step in with several cases, and they always step aside, and the states have to be the ones to decide how their elections go. But at some point, they're completely too far, and this point is bigger, and then we're all going to be on the government sheet, and the state-run board like we're going to have in New York City, and we're not going to like because it's ongoing drama. So I'm Jessica Tarlock, and I say Democrats come home. Rosanna, what if we found some of those Texas TikTok Democrats like at a matinee on Broadway?
Probably within our midst, because don't forget, Governor Hochul is so empowered by this here in New York City. She tried to redraw the maps twice and lost. But the difference between our legislators in New York, they didn't run away. They fought it in court, and they won. Now, I will tell you that Hochul is very empowered by what's going on with the Texas lawmakers. She's saying that she wants to redraw again, but it's going to be a lot more complicated in New York. The bottom line is, we lose. When these guys go behind closed doors and try to map things without us knowing, instead of working it out, they're losing our trust. They're losing the trust we know.
You have to stop looking for one else. You keep flipping on the rocks and the video will shut up. You gotta stop looking.
It's like, I have money, I can help too. It's like, Rich Person, no, I need more money.
Yeah.
I'll help you, you can stay at my hotel.
Make another video.
No, and maybe you can take a road trip and round up the people.
Yes.
Bring them back. Anyway, we have lots of ideas along that line.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our honest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Man, I don't want to hear no hide. You was nothing. I want to hear the truth. Like bullshit.
Bassett, every liberal mayor can tie themselves to the train tracks, but it's not stopping Homan. He's got a sweet tooth for deportation, and there isn't anywhere he won't go.
We're going to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the jail, then we'll go to the community and we'll find him. Or we'll do more worksite enforcement, we'll find him at the worksite. And when we do these things, we ramp up that enforcement, we're going to find others. Others who aren't a criminal target, but they're in the country illegally, we're going to arrest them too. So what you're going to get, sanctuary cities, is exactly what you don't want. More agents in the communities and more collateral arrests.
Migrant gangs are going buck wild in inner cities, and Democrats want them to lay down roots. Not even Mexico wants these guys. Over the weekend, they rioted in Mexico City over open borders. Even Mexicans are telling illegals to get out. Is it racist when Mexicans want to ice illegals? The New York Times is even admitting we have a migrant gang problem. After calling the Venezuelan gangs who took over Aurora, Colorado a false story, now the Times is saying Democrats denied the city had a gang problem, but the truth is complicated. Democrats are dying alone on this hill. They're building resistance labs, shooting at ICE agents, and deep staters are using CIA tactics to self-sabotage Trump. Who else knows what's up their sleeves? They've rioted, firebombed cars, and shot